Hello, assalamu alaikum, inshallah you're well. My name is Nilly, and if you've come over for the first time, my channel is all about Muslim parenting and lifestyle. And today's video is all about breastfeeding, and it's going to be like the top questions I get asked the most about my breastfeeding journey. I've been breastfeeding since November 2014, and I literally stopped in July 2018 because I just wasn't enjoying it. My daughter's turning 2 and I'm pregnant, and I breastfed my son through pregnancy with my daughter, and it was really painful, but I still did it. And then I tandem fed them, which I did not want to do this time around, so I had to wean her off. That's my journey in a nutshell. So I do get asked quite a lot about breastfeeding, and I thought I would share my tips, tricks and just general know-how and like what motivated me to keep going. With that being said, Channel Mum have a forum where there are experts on so many topics, and you can ask questions about breastfeeding and get prompt replies, and it's a really supportive network, so go check it out. I'll include a link below. One question I get asked a lot is, how do you prepare for breastfeeding? And I feel the way to prepare for breastfeeding is to actually sit down and speak to a lactation consultant, watch YouTube videos on breastfeeding, go to antenatal classes, literally sit with someone that you know that breastfeeds and just watch them. It's all about watching, absorbing information, because breastfeeding is natural but it is so hard. It took me 8 weeks to establish breastfeeding with Camille, and getting that perfect latch and just making sure that I wasn't in any pain, that took me so long. And I feel like mothers don't know how hard it is until they're trying, and then they feel like they're failures because they can't do it, because it is really painful and you have to persevere through a lot. Obviously some mums do find it easy, but I didn't. I found it very, very difficult, and I just had to like suck through it. If it hurts, it's not right, and you must get it sorted as soon as possible. I did not do that. I bared through the pain, through crying, gritting my teeth, literally hating motherhood at the start, and it shouldn't have been like that at all. I should have got help from the start, should have got a consultant or a midwife or anyone to just watch my latch and to see I was doing it. I was not doing it correctly at all. It's best to feed the baby within the first hour the baby is born, because it just stimulates your milk supply and obviously makes the baby want you and all this sort of stuff. If you do it within the first hour, it's better for you and your baby's bonding experience. So don't think that your baby's not getting enough. The baby's stomach is the size of a marble when they're first born, okay? So the colostrum is enough, and it is amazing for them. So don't give up, persevere. A question I always get asked is about cracked and sore nipples. Like, how can you feed through that? How can you heal yourself? Basically, I don't have any on me because I've stopped breastfeeding, but the purple tube, the Lansolin nipple cream, is amazing, and it's the one I recommend. I've tried Superdrug ones, I've tried supermarket ones, and this one has come out top for me. So just invest a little bit more and get the purple lanolin. What I did was I would apply it if it was sore after a feed, and I'd put a bit of breast milk in it as well, and I would literally just leave my boob to heal naturally with the air. It must have looked odd, especially on the ward if I just had my boob hanging out. Constantly reapply your nipple cream, and it's safe for the baby to suckle on, just so you know. Nipple cream is your best friend. How can I increase my supply? There are so many ways you can increase your supply. Skin to skin is probably the most favoured, because your body is recognising your baby. Do you know what? Our bodies are incredible in what they can do and what they can sense just by putting that baby on us and kissing them and sensing what they need. It is just incredible. So yeah, skin to skin. Oats in flapjack, oat bars, porridge, you name it, it's good for you. Fennel seeds, fenugreek. I drank lots of water. There's a tea called Mother's Tea, which is really good as well to increase your supply. Don't give up. Your baby is probably getting more than you think, and it's really difficult to know what your baby is getting comparing it to a formula fed baby where you can see the milk. If your baby is getting plenty of wet nappies throughout the day, they're getting enough milk. Blocked ducts. For example, with Asia, I had a lot of blocked ducts because she slept a lot in the newborn days and I had a lot of milk and I wasn't expressing. So what I did was I got in a really hot bath, like literally insanely hot, and I literally got in like in a plank position, so my breasts were under the water, and I just stayed there for as long as possible. Obviously I didn't plank for like 10 minutes, I used my knees. But yeah, so I just made them really nice and soft, and I noticed that the milk just came out on its own, and I manually expressed like the block duct area to release it. If you can, get your baby's chin to go in the area of the block duct so they can release it. But if your baby's asleep and you can't do that, get in the bath, hot shower, all on the breast, cover them, make them soft. Good 10 minutes you need hot water on them to really make them soft and like get the flow going. And try and get them as soon as possible because it can turn to mastitis, get infected, and it's just so painful. So yeah, sort it out as soon as you get them. So both my kids had a tie. So Kimmo had a tongue tie and Assie had a lip tie, and both of them really struggled with their latch, and it's so important to get a good latch to have a good breastfeeding journey. And what really helped a good latch for both of them was called the flipple technique. That technique is a godsend. It is literally so good. I'll include a link to it below, and it really helps you get a deeper latch, which is so important for a good latch and not to get sore nipples. I always get questions about how I weaned my kids off. Camille was a lot of a struggle. I had to get Ali to help, and Ali didn't enjoy that at all because he had sleepless nights, but I enjoyed that, watching him struggle because I'd been struggling. Ali took him away from me at night time so that he wouldn't smell me, and Ali literally just had to rock him to sleep, and Ali did not enjoy that. But with Asia it was a lot more straightforward. Alhamdulillah, she's very empathetic. So I basically told her my nipples hurt and I covered them with plasters, and she just had one look and she was like, oh mummy, and she didn't want to go near them because she didn't want to hurt me even more. So we went with that story and she just didn't want it. I offered it to her the other day. She was like, no. Other ways that you could do it is to put something on your nipples that you know your child won't like. There's Marmite. Some of us have been known to put chili powder on their nipples. Anything that they wouldn't like lemon and lime and stuff like that, which isn't so bad. Apply it to your nipples, and you just have to be really strong. Don't give in, because they will soon eventually get used to it, and just give them a cuddle. Don't ignore them, and like don't let them just cry it out because that's not nice. Just give them a cuddle and say, you can't have any more milk, you're a big boy now, or a big girl, have it in a cup. And what helped transitioning both of mine from breast milk was to give them goat's milk, because it's a little bit fuller and sweeter, I find, and I felt like they enjoyed it more than cow's milk, and it was easier to digest, and it's got lauric acid in it, which is very similar to breast milk. So that helped the transition from breast milk into like animal milk. Okay, I get a lot of questions about my tandem feeding journey, and I don't talk about it much because I don't enjoy it, and it just brings back memories of how I was feeling at the time, and it did trigger my PND and I hated it. I personally could not recommend tandem feeding to someone else because I did not enjoy it. Even the lactation consultant down here didn't know how to help me because the only tandem feeding expertise, experience, training they got were for twins. So a toddler and a newborn was very difficult for them. So I just had no help. I mean, I did it for 4 months and I just could not carry on. It was just so difficult, and I just did not go out. I just couldn't possibly work out in my head how I was going to breastfeed a toddler and a newborn outside, and how I was going to cover my breasts and stay modest. It was not a nice experience. Camille, at the time when I was pregnant, he was starting to decrease his feeds, but as soon as Asia came, bam, he wanted to feed like a newborn. He wanted to be part of it, and I really struggled with it because Asia had a lip tie, so I was trying to get a good latch on her first, and he was getting agitated because he wanted to be on at the same time, and he had to wait, and obviously at 18 months you don't know how to wait. So yeah, it was just really, really, it was a very hard part of my breastfeeding journey. Even thinking about it now makes me really emotional, because I wasn't very nice to Camille. Like, I wasn't a nice person, and it made me into a really bad person. And I just felt like at the time, if I'm not enjoying it, if he's not enjoying it, then we shouldn't be doing it anymore. And that's what it got to. I was snapping at him, and I just was not a nice person. It was completely against all my morals and ethics about how I should be treating my son. So yeah, I stopped. Anyway, I would not do tandem feeding. I hated it. From going from breast milk to formula, and the way I see it is, if you are capable of breastfeeding, then breastfeed as long as you can. That is so good for your babies, their immune system. Like, honestly, it's just incredible for them, for their brain development, everything. There is a lot of magic in breast milk, and that's why in Islam they recommend you to breastfeed for up to 2 years, because they know just how good it is for your baby. And the reward you get for every single drop of breast milk your child takes is just, subhanallah, it's just amazing. So that for me was enough of a reason to carry on for as long as possible in breastfeeding, just to know that I'm doing so much good for my babies and I'm getting rewarded at the same time. But mums do ask me, is it bad that I want to switch from breast milk to formula? And I always say, if you are switching from breast milk to formula and you've decided, but you've made an informed decision, like you've done all your research on formula and breast milk, and you've weighed the pros and cons and it fits into your family lifestyle, then go ahead and do it. Nothing wrong with it, but as long as it's an informed decision and you've educated yourself on formula and breast milk. But don't ever feel bad, because I feel like in society nowadays we live in such a fast-paced world that it's hard to sit down and just breastfeed. There's always something going on, and formula fits in well with most families because you can just give the bottle to someone else and they can feed the baby while you do something else dealing with your other kids. Another question is, how long is right to breastfeed? And Islamically, 2 years. That is the right your child has over you. If you can't do up to 2 years, then that's fine, but that is the length that is right, 2 years. I feel like the length of your journey of breastfeeding is up to you and what works for the family. That's the most important thing, what works for you and the family, not other people, not society, not what famous people are doing, what you guys are doing, what works for you. I get asked also how to breastfeed as a Muslim mum out and about. I actually have a breastfeeding apron which I used. It's easier in the newborn days, obviously, because it can get a bit hot under there and they kick and they fuss and they throw it up, which probably draws more attention to yourself. My friend has a breastfeeding t-shirt which is so good. It's got zips down here and you just literally unzip it, you know, get your boob out, and it's just literally so good. It's so covered, everything is still hidden. And I use my hijab to cover the baby when I was breastfeeding. It is totally doable to breastfeed out in public. I've seen niqabis like breastfeed, and it's just so incredible to see them breastfeed, because literally they've managed to just get a little bit of nipple out and it's just so good. I've never had any problems breastfeeding out and about. So those are my top questions that I get asked a lot about breastfeeding. And also, if you have any more questions about breastfeeding, do comment below and I'll answer them, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.